a week or two to get my head around, and we don't have the kids lounge at the moment. So once we do that, once we do get that going, we will address that specifically with the program for the kids lounge. But with the clubs and in the kids lounge, my goal is, and we'll start off with this again, please let me know how you're finding it. I would like as all per club, per session, to write one observation on a group of children. Now, I say group of children, you can technically do it on an individual, but if you're observing a group of kids, then that observation is relevant for the 5 kids who are in that group. So really, instead of covering one child each session, you've covered 5 kids in one session. I have got several ways that it can be done. For example, if you're in Kids Club, we have the artwork sample. Pop a picture of the kid, the child, with our artwork here. Briefly describe the art experience. What things were happening in the class? What did the child say? I'm taking the photos. So you will have to, I'm coming around all the time. You will just have to let me know. We can see how it goes. If it's not working, we can
maybe get permission for other people to also take photos.
Look at other options. Yeah. So I'll take the photo. We'll pop the photo here. What did the child say? If you say to the child, tell me about what you've drawn. Tell me about what you've made. All you need to do is record what they've written. What's the story behind the photo? Did they interact with other children? So not necessarily, it's important when making the observations that it's not necessarily just about the skill or what we can see in the photo. It's what's happening in the whole picture. Were they upset before they made this picture? Were they really excited about something they'd done at home? Did their friends come and make comments on the pictures? Did they adjust the picture? Then we're going to, that is the main area that I need to get from you guys. Once we've done that, once we've done this observation or any of the other ones, so for example, my weekend, if Charles comes in on Monday morning, Tuesday, this is something that they can do. We're not going to make anyone do anything, but this is something that they can choose to do if they want to draw a picture, if they want to write. If we can get this down, if we can get the documentation of the observation, so any photos and a description from you about what's happened, even if it isn't on one of these sheets. If you can write down the observation on a piece of paper, anything interesting, anything exciting, and a conversation that 5 kids have had, or how a group of kids work through a problem or a difficulty. Again, keeping it all very positive. Not that they couldn't do something, but they were practicing to do something. Those observations are really what I need from you guys.
So how would the girls not in the kids lounge, how would they do the observations, the girls that are in the incursions?
So incursions, same way.
Would you give them a exercise book to write it in? What would they write it in?
Well, these documents. So
or they could take a picture of what they made in the club. How would they use it?
So, for example.
So they're in Krav Maga. How would you do an observation of what they did?
So I would come in, take a photo.
Okay. Always based on a photo.
Okay. So they might say, whatever the child's names are, child A, B, C, and D. They were really excited to practice blocks this week. Child A wasn't sure how to do this, and child B came and said, if you do it like this, it's much easier. If you can write down something interesting that happened with those children, that's what I need. So for example, this is what I've been doing. So the problem with this is that it isn't, it doesn't name the children. This is what goes on the front desk. So for example, in mosaics, we're finishing off our artworks. Rachel completed her mosaic artwork last week, so she chose to continue knitting her gloves. So that might be an area. She finished her artwork. She had previously been knitting gloves in her knitting, and she was really excited to finishing it. She was telling me about how she learned to do a pearl stitch today. So if it needs to be a few sentences, anything that has a story behind it. So I'll have lots of templates.
Can I just ask you?
Pardon?
Can I just ask you, what's
Yeah.
the difference to that first one that you gave us about picking a group or a kid or specific group of kids, and then the second one about the weekend? What's the...
Okay, so hang on.
fingers
From
crossed.
here.
The two different types of observations.
Yeah, so two different types. So I'm in, when you to get the program kit, so this box that has all the, like the gloves and cups and things like that, it's going to have copies of these. These are all templates, but you don't have to use the template, because at the moment, what I primarily need from you guys is the observation. Everything that comes after that, we can look at doing like in a month's time. So things like the analysis, linking it with the My Time, Our Place framework, future planning, those things I can sort of organize, that I can take care of for now. But the observation is where we need to start with. So for example,
Is it worth even just maybe having like an exercise book in each box?
Yeah. Well,
And the girls can date it and write a few observations in it? Or is it
Yeah.
better to have it on a
Well,
set template?
we'll have it on the template, because I'll write
From there, you take it.
I'll write the analysis and the future planning and the learning outcomes on the observation. So it will. So that one's like, for example, if you're in kids club and they did an art thing, for the
You
girls
can-
who are doing mosaic or art.
You only need to choose one per session.
For now, yes. Let's just get.
But one
done.
can be of 4 kids
Yeah,
all
one
doing
can be
the
of
same
4
thing.
kids.
Are we supposed to use the kids' names, or is it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Why?
Because it's all very positive. If I was going to say,
We're meant to like show it to parents. Like this is what.
yeah,
our
like
child-
this is all things that we're happy to show to parents. Parents will be, well, happy to show everything to parents, but this will be in the foyer, and what's going to happen is we're going to have a folder like this with all the observations and a list of kids' names, and then the date and the learning outcome that relates to the observation. So that when a parent comes, they can go, yes, my child, he had an observation on this date. If I go to this date, I can look at it. And that saves us having to do like we don't need portfolios or anything like that, because in the scheme of things, we see them for 8 or 9 hours a term.
Why do we even need a background story? Who's looking at it? Who's checking progress from week to week? Is anyone even doing that?
It's just
Big- No, it's to document what they're doing. So that's all that we need. That's all that we need to do. Because if we were doing it just for the sake of doing it, yes. But what's going to happen is that I look at it, I analyze it, and then I make future. For example, in Kids Lounge, I would put something in next week's program based on that observation.
But the observation is a background story that she came in and she was upset and then she did a picture and it calmed her down. How does that help you for next week?
Because
An observation based on the activity, if the kids enjoyed it, if they liked it, that part I understand. But the background of what's going on, that's kind of irrelevant, but just adding to create.
No, but if she'll say, my grandmother had a baby, my mum, then you'll make the lesson plan the next day around having babies or something.
But we do it week from week, like week to week. So a week.
But
later,
we're
we're gonna start
really
talking
meant
about babies.
to be basing our program around their interests and around what they're excited about and about what's happening in their lives.
But
That's
because
really-
we
okay,
only because
so-
we only do it
so-
once a week, we can't really. I mean, if we can do it the next day, they come in the next day, then fine, it's still fresh. But a week later, maybe there's something new they're excited about. They come in, they're oh, doing babies. Well, I'm already onto my brother's bar mitzvah, who happened afterwards.
So this is where we can see how it goes. We'll start off doing it on a week-to-week basis because so much of it's new. We just need to start doing it and to start with something to work with. So once we have something to work with, then we can look at how it's going. The reason why I said like if she was upset and then she did the picture, you would only write that if it was actually applicable to what she's done. We probably wouldn't do something with upset because we want to keep it positive, but if she was upset because she left her friends at school, but then she drew a picture about her playing with her friends, then that's kind of related. It's more that we want to get an understanding of how that learning's come to be. So it's not just that she did a drawing of her friends, it's that she was upset that she left her friends at school, or that she saw her cousins who came from interstate but now they're gone and she wishes that she could play with them. It's giving it
But what
an
was
understanding.
the learning outcome of that? That she
So
she
it's
drew a picture.
documenting it's documenting what's happening. So the learning outcomes are things like, the learning outcomes aren't kind of the normal. So it's things like become strong in their social and emotional well-being. Now, these learning outcomes, we don't really use them to plan activities. It's more because one child, you might be doing art with a child, but child A takes away a completely different experience to what child B does. So, if you're doing an art activity and you've got a child who has been really, really shy lately and they've started to communicate with the educators, that might be children interact verbally and non-verbally with others for a range of purposes.
So that kind of thing wouldn't go on to this observation.
You might say, child A was really excited to do the painting today. The child came and asked for some blue paint, just as an idea. That could then be children interact verbally and non-verbally with others for a range of purposes, because you're not saying that there was a problem. You haven't said, child A never talks to us, and then they did, because that would be, because that's not taking the positive view. But then you've got another child who said, same painting experience. This is like the time when I did a collage at, Bulba's house.
So
And then that child transfer and adapt what they have learned from one context to another. So
So would you make that picture thing of the girl doing arts and crafts holding up, saying, while she was doing arts and crafts, she compared it to going shopping with her mother?
Yeah.
It kind of seems just a bit random, no?
because that's the experience, but